Hey everybody, my name is Jeremy. This is Red Beans Recording Modular, and today we're going to be talking about low-pass gates, a very, very classic and cool concept in synthesizer design that combines a volume slope with a filter slope. These are really, really cool sounding, organic sounding modules and circuits that you can find in a variety of places. And I thought it would just be cool to talk about their history a little bit and also show you the ones that I have so that you can get a sense of how they sound when you stack them up against each other. This is by all means not an exhaustive comparison of every single low-pass gate that's out there. That would be impossible. But I will show you some of the ones I have and also some of the ones I borrowed from James Sigler. So thank you, James. Check the chapter markers if you want to jump around to maybe just the audio demos, but otherwise, let's start talking about the history of the low-pass gate. So what is a low-pass gate? Well, it combines a voltage-controlled amplifier, otherwise known as a VCA, with a low-pass filter. So in the synthesizer world, the VCA is responsible for shaping the volume of a signal passing through it. Traditionally, when we press a key on a synthesizer, a gate signal is sent to the envelope generator, which begins its cycle, starting with attack. Once the attack is done, the decay stage occurs. And following that, the sustain stage, which remains active until the gate signal stops, and then the release stage starts. Not every envelope has all four stages, and some have more. Most, but not all low-pass gates operate with a single control, and that is decay or release. There's no attack, there's no sustain. A low-pass filter is designed to let low frequencies of a signal pass through while the high frequencies are attenuated. Low pass. In most synthesizers with a filter, there's a dedicated envelope for the shape of this process, but some synthesizers have a single envelope for filter and volume. In the modular world, recreating a simple subtractive synthesizer usually means requiring a sound source, two envelopes, a VCA, and a filter. Low-pass gates combine envelope, VCA, and filter into one module, usually. The low-pass gate was designed by Don Buchla in the 1970s as part of his Buchla synthesizer systems. This is the west coast of synthesizer design. It was designed to emulate the behavior of acoustic instruments, particularly percussive and plucked sounds. If we look at a few percussive sounds, like a bongo, for instance, we'll notice a burst of high harmonic content right at the start of the sound. Following that, there's a fall-off in both volume and high frequencies. This tends to be exponential, but not always. Meaning that instead of a linear straight curve, it goes faster down and then kind of like takes longer to release. This is the blueprint for a huge number of sounds in the world, like Rhodes, piano, guitar, and many more. As we lower the frequencies further and further, we can eventually end up with a sine wave. All things were born of the sine wave. All things will return to the sine wave, even you. Buchla was like, hey, what if I made a module that could do that thing that the real-life things also do? And so he designed the first low-pass gate that appeared in the Buchla's 200 series instruments, the 292 quad low-pass gate. There are a couple really, really great articles out there on low-pass gates. Noise Engineering has a really fantastic one, so some of this information comes from here. I'll link to that in the description. So we know what's in a low-pass gate conceptually, but what makes this happen? Like, what are the electronics inside? You'll probably see the term Vactrol a bunch if you're looking into it. The optomix and LXD from Make Noise and the dope for A102-2, for instance, these use Vactrols. These are components known as opto-isolators that create a natural sounding decay envelope when a trigger is set into them. They have the advantage of being a simple component to implement, but the disadvantage of having a wide variance in response and little to no control over decay time. That aspect, but also there's an environmental aspect. I think they use cadmium, some kind of heavy metal. So there's a lot of environmental concerns around this. I'm not sure how many out there are using cadmium Vactrols anymore, but I do know that many modern companies making low-pass gates are finding ways to create components more responsive and malleable than Vactrols, and some are making their own custom Vactrols from scratch. So in the past, we basically just had the Buchla West Coast synthesis concept, quad low-pass gate. People were making these bongo sounds. It was amazing. But now, we have low-pass gates all over the place. We have low-pass gates of every shape, every size. We have passive ones, we have simple ones, we have cheap ones, we have really expensive ones. And with that said, I would love to take you over to my rack and show you some of the low-pass gates that I have in my system so you can hear what they sound like and we can see how they work. All right, let's go over there. You're hearing the Gorquelic iteratus percedo. It's being driven by a sequence down here on the Hermod Plus. I'm molting out the gates, and as we'll see later, I'll need those. We'll be using Quadragy over here for some envelopes. Might get the Quad VCA involved, and it's all getting recorded by the blue box. All right, so this is the dynamix from Make Noise. We have level. Here we have the dynamic control, which can be modulated. We can even put an envelope into this, so let's give an envelope a try real quick. We'll take this super exponential envelope out of the Quadragy and put it in here. This is a little weird. You can hear it's got like a little bit of slew on it, which is kind of interesting. There's zero attack on the envelope, so this is all from the dynamix. Let's go ahead and take this out and put it into level where it belongs. There we go. That's the sound of a low-pass gate. Now, once this is in here, we can experiment with the input and the dynamic control. In fact, we can actually modulate these. So let's take a signal out of the Maestro and plug it into here and modulate the dynamic control a little bit to hear how it sounds. It's always great when one of these have CV inputs to make it more organic or more lively, like what we're doing right now. I think I would probably want a bit of a voltage offset on top of the CV signal here if I was going to make this work. We can try plugging in a different voltage source like the Kermit here and see how that sounds. There we go. That's a little bit better. And that's dynamix. Let's switch over to the optomix. So first of all, audio in. We're not going to be using an envelope for this. Audio out. So what we want to do with this one is send a gate into the strike input. So we'll take our gate from this mold here and put it into strike. Let's go ahead and manipulate these controls a bit and listen to what the range is. You can really hear how the volume and the filter are related to each other here. Here's modifying the damp input. Let's go ahead and modulate control. And what happens if we put an envelope into control? Well, we're going to grab that Quadragy signal again. Not a ton of difference there. So far from a sound perspective, I think I like Dynamix. It's got a little bit more body to it, which sucks because the Optomix is the one I own. I'm borrowing the other one from James Sigler. All right, it's time to move over to the literal elephant in the room, the rabid elephant natural gate. These things go for an insane price. They're basically scalped all the time, and it's going to use a strike input as well. Very similar to the last one, so we'll go strike, input, and output. It's the hit input in this case. Now this thing, I hate to say it, sounds really, really good. It's like got this like perfect low pass gate body with really, really snappy envelope. We've got 3 separate options here on this little dip switch. It's the highest value, the middle one is the least, highest here, less, and somewhere in between. We have an open control here, and a decay control. And then we have modulation for both of those. So let's give that a try. I'm going to use the Maestro and put it into decay. So there is a random voltage every 16th note into the decay control. That sounds really good. Just really, really like that sound. Now we'll take this out and we're going to put it into the control input. That's without modulation. And there it is in the control input. You can hear the random voltage working on the open right now. You can even turn it negative. Get those working together by plugging another signal into the decay CV input. So there are 2 random 16th notes. Just get this really wonderful, expressive, sort of organic, pingy feeling. It's super, super cool. I love it. All right, next up is a bit of a weird one. This is the Vult Freak manifold filter, which claims to have a low-pass gate setting in here. A low-pass gate plus VCA, claims to be like a Vactrol. We're supposed to put a gate into the cutoff, and then resonance acts as a decay, so in to in, out to out. Now this claims that you're supposed to send a gate into cutoff. I have a gate going into cutoff. It's only 5 volts, it's not 10 volts. I don't have anything that can create a 10 volt gate, but you'll notice here that it doesn't really respond in the way that you would hope so. Like it doesn't really feel like a low pass gate at all. It just doesn't do what you'd expect. So if you're looking for a low-pass gate, would not recommend looking at the Freak. Otherwise, it's an amazing filter, but from a low-pass gate perspective, it doesn't do what I would want. Next up is the Steady State Gate from Steady State Fate. One of my absolute favorite modules that I have in general, but absolutely one of my favorite low-pass gates as well. So we strike this as well, put a gate into Excite, and then input and output. All right, there's a lot of different controls on here. So up at the top here, we have this responses. I'll turn these up real quick so you can hear it. We have, that sounds so good. Second favorite here, most colorful compared to natural gate. Natural gate is like, sort of like the most quintessential low-pass gate, whereas the steady state gate is like a lot more options in terms of color. So we have a 2-pole low-pass, a 1-pole low-pass, and a bandpass. You can really, really hear that exponential click there at the beginning. Q factor. It's resonant. That's so cool. It's actually resonant. You can actually hear it acting as a resonant filter. Yeah. think that sounds absolutely ace. Isn't that cool? Let's keep it on the 2-pole right now. Down here, we have some different modes. We have saturation, which is what we've been listening to. We have a wave folder. You hear that? A little wave folder. This is fold. Saturation. And then QoS? Something related to the resonance. So this thing kicks ass. Let's go ahead and modulate some stuff. It has so many modulation inputs, and you know we gotta take advantage of them. Decay is first up. Take a signal out of our Acid Rain Maestro. I'm gonna give that an up and down chain. Next up is timbre. Let's do frequency next. I'm going to send a random value into the Q factor. I think I can do that using rand step. Let's use rand step. I will clock it with this clock coming out of Renee. So this goes so far beyond any expectation of a low-pass gate should be. Let's go ahead and set all of these to random. How cool is that? Next, last, but absolutely not least, is this little baby from Noise Engineering. It is the Sync Bucina, the Steve Buscemi. Sorry, that's stupid. It's the Sync Bucina from Noise Engineering. And actually, you can do this in two ways. If we want to use the excite concept, we'll go into ping. The Sync Bucina is resonant. We have 3 modes. We have a 12-pole resonant mode. This is 12, 0, and 6. You could really, really hear that chewy resonance kicking in there. Yeah, right there. Right now, because we're using ping, the attack control doesn't work. But we could send a gate into the gate right here, and then we could use the attack and decay control. So this is kind of unique that it has an attack. And that, my friends, is our little mini tour of low-pass gates, at least the ones I could get a hold of. I hope you have enjoyed this. I think dynamix is ace. I think the natural gate is ace at MSRP. And I love the steady state gate, and the Sync Bucina is also really, really useful. Haven't tried the Dope for One. There's a lot of passive low-pass gates around as well. So take a look around, listen to demos, see what you can find. Shout out to James Sigler for letting me borrow the natural gate and the dynamix. You're the best, buddy. And that concludes this little video on low-pass gates. Thanks again for watching. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. I'm trying to get this little modular channel going. Channel. I'm trying to get this little modular channel a little bit more love. And, you know, it used to be just jams. Now it is module walkthroughs and little videos like this where we talk about the history of things and give some demos. So keep an eye on the space if you like what I do with modular, and I promise there will be a lot more. What's your favorite low-pass gate? Huh? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to, I honestly do want to know. All right. Thanks so much for watching. My name is Jeremy. This is Red Beans Recording Modular. Kiss your cat right on the lips.